Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video of My 2 Cent Nintendo / gaming video for the week of February 9th to the 15th. I'm recording this on Valentine's Day, so I hope all of you had a enjoyable Valentine's Day indeed. I hope you got your loved ones something special and all that stuff. And of course, my birthday was this week, so happy birthday to me. I'm 38 years old. Yes, you could say. I know some will say, yep, you're an old fart and all that stuff. So it is what it is. So we got 6 stories to cover, including one that just broke over the NPD, though. We do have the situation with Pokemon, where Nintendo really clamped down on a bunch of leakers. Geforce Now, which has Activision pulling something that some people feel is very anti-consumer. And of course, we have the Koei Tecmo, Anthem, and of course, Altus as well. Before we get started in those stories, we'll start off with the quick My 2 Cent part. Stories that kind of somewhat caught my attention, maybe not as much or anything like that. We start with the first one with Monster Hunter Generation. Apparently sits at, like, I think 3.4 million copies have been sold so far for the Nintendo Switch, which is certainly pretty impressive for a game that originally came out, I believe, on the 3DS and then ported over to the Switch. Hopefully this is a sign that Capcom will start maybe putting some effort into the Nintendo Switch, especially since the system has sold like 52 million and has overtaken the Xbox One and all that stuff. Although I'm doubtful, but we'll have to wait and see. We also learned that supposedly there is a story going around that the Frostbite engine could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. That's the same engine used by EA, which unfortunately let's just say not every game has worked on it properly, like Mass Effect Andromeda and of course Anthem, which I'm going to get to that one as well. This one was picked up by YouTuber Drake81 and all. I still have my doubts about that one. I still have my doubts that EA is going to bring any game running on Frostbite engine over to the Nintendo Switch, given its reputation and all that stuff. Hell, I feel that even if the Switch sold 100 million units, which it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but even if it will, some developers like EA will still make no effort to it. So I'm not holding my breath on this one, but I could be wrong in any way. But for right now, that's where at least I stand. And of course, we got a couple of NES and Super NES games on the Nintendo Switch. Both of them are Japanese-only titles that never saw the light of day here in the West, which is kind of neat one. I think one's called Smash Tennis and all. And of course, we got a couple of NES games, including, I think, Shadow of Ninja, which, based on the selection that was put out this week, I would say Shadow of Ninja, if I'm saying the name correctly. I could be wrong. I could have said the title wrong, so I apologize if that's the case. Probably is the only good one out there. Other than that, I really wish Nintendo did a better job in terms of having an actual schedule for when they're releasing these NES and Super NES games as part of the Switch Online service. So I really think they need to do a better job with it, though. Alright, with that part of the quick My 2 Cent out of the way, we'll get started with our first one, and this has to do with Aulx. And as far as support for the Switch goes from Aulx, I would say not so much. Other than that Shin Megami Tensei game that basically was announced during when the Switch was finally revealed, and we haven't heard much of it, although they said we'll hear something this year. Their support has been kind of mixed. We've gotten, the Fire Emblem Tokyo Mirage Session game, and we're recently going to get the Persona 5 Scramble, even though there are some people who would love to see Persona 5 come to the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff. Well, recently, Aulx did a survey, and on top of that, apparently they may have gotten a lot of response to the survey, though. In the first article we'll start off with the first one from Destructoid. It reads, quote, "Publisher Aulx has released its annual customer survey in its home territory of Japan, which includes a new and tantalizing question specifically asking which Aulx release fans would like to see ported to the Switch platform. The survey question question asked readers which release would garner public interest should the hypothetical receive a straight port with no new or additional content to the Nintendo console. The checklist includes a run of Shin Megami Tensei titles, including Persona 1 through 5 and Persona Q, the Eterna, E-T-R-I-A-N, I apologize if I'm saying the name correctly, Odyssey series, Cataline Full Body, Devil Summoner, and Dragon Crown Pro. Now, interestingly enough, after that survey came out, apparently a lot of people responded to it, at least according to what Nintendo Life is saying, and they're saying, quote, last week, as you might heard, Aulx, responsible for a series like Persona, rolled out an online survey in Japan. One question that stood out for Nintendo fans was focused strongly on the Switch, asking users about possibility of ports to the hybrid system. Here's an exact quote. Here's the exact question as translated by Persona Central. If previous Aulx games which can be played on other hardware without additional elements, were ported to the Nintendo Switch, would you want to play them? Select all the titles below that you would like to play on the Nintendo Switch. According some of the games and series included, as I mentioned, Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Persona, Dragon Crown Pro, and it adds a little bit more to it. It says, quote, according to the message published by the official Japanese Altus Twitter account, as highlighted by a user on Reddit, this is the most feedback the company has ever received on one of its surveys. The post on Reddit also noticed it makes sense as a lot of big video games news outlets have reported it. We can only hope that this survey is acknowledged by the higher ups at Aulx as it leads to more of the company being released on the Switch. Persona 5 would be a nice start, considering Joker has been available in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a DLC fighter since April of last year. So the title means that asking about these ports has exceeded expectations. So I will say that while it certainly is encouraging, and apparently that this survey has exceeded expectations, it's unclear if Aulx would really follow through or not. Personally, I would love for them to follow through. I would love to see the Persona or maybe another entry of the Shin Megami Tensei series come to the Nintendo Switch. But I also would love for them to bring over games like Dragon Crown Pro and, of course, Odin Sphere. That would be great if they could bring those titles over to the Nintendo Switch. I like the Vanilleware's style and their approach to game, and I would love for them to bring those over. Will Aulx do this? Who knows? I mean, we've seen publishers out there that are very reluctant to bring their games over to the Nintendo Switch, despite the Switch doing very well, despite recently it hit 52 million units sold worldwide, overpassing the Xbox One. It seems some publishers and some developers are willing to make idiotic excuses, at least in my opinion, of why they don't want to bring their games to the Switch. I think Famicom, the creators of, Falcom, if I'm saying the name correctly, the creator of the Yeast or the Y series, gave a reason why they didn't want to bring their games over to the Nintendo Switch, mostly because they were supporting the Vita. But with the Vita pretty much out of the way and all that stuff, we're starting to see some of the games like Trial of Cold Steel 3 start making its way over to the Nintendo Switch. So I really think Aulx should reconsider and bring a lot of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. I think we've heard stories of how some publishers have seen their games done very well on the Nintendo Switch. CD Projekt Red recently said that the Switch version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt sold very well for them. So I really think developers, especially those who have constantly stayed on the sideline, should definitely reconsider. So overall, I am glad this survey exceeded expectations. I do hope this opens Aulx's eyes a little bit more and consider bringing more of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with Anthem and BioWare's attempt to try to save that game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one has to do with, well, Anthem. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard about the whole story and controversy with Anthem. Released earlier last year, I think it was in January or February, I'm not 100% sure. Anthem was supposed to be the next big IP from BioWare. They were putting this out as the whole live service and all that stuff. But we later learned that wasn't the case and everything like that. We learned how the game didn't really come to fruition until the last minute with the whole, BioWare magic that supposedly came out, that the whole situation with that. We learned about how basically the backlash from Star Wars Battlefront 2 basically put Anthem to remove some of the microtransactions that were in there for the time being. And then when the game came out, many people did not like it. It was considered a mess. There was the loot system was broken. There was no end game content. There was basically a whole lot of things that really ruined that game. But the biggest one obviously was the whole Jason Schreier from Kotaku story about the whole issue of crunch and the whole issue of how there were people that were stressed out and so forth. It really exposed, and I think that really exposed one of the issues the gaming industry seriously needs to address, and that's the whole crunch issue. But let's just say it really was an embarrassment for Anthem in general, and it became a commercial failure, not only from EA, but BioWare in general. In fact, last year, the only thing that the only bright spot for EA was courtesy of Respawn Entertainment with Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a single-player game. The type of single-player games that EA believes that people don't play anymore and all that. Well, last year, around the end of last year, though, there was a push to basically by BioWare that they weren't going to give up Anthem and that it was going to go through a big overhaul, that they were going to tear everything down and try to look at everything to try to fix what was wrong with the game. Well, recently we learned that basically BioWare has given an update on what they are doing with Anthem at this time. In an article posted on by PlayStation Lifestyle, it reads that, quote, Anthem's abandoning seasons as BioWare confirms it's working on a substantial reinnovation. The article reads, quote, after poking fun at Anthem last week for still having its Christmas decoration up, which, really? It's February and you still had that up and all that stuff? God, wow. We posted that one of the reasons for the extended in-game holiday season is that BioWare is hard at work on an Anthem redesign. Not even a week later, BioWare's Casey Hudson has confirmed that an Anthem reboot is in the works at BioWare. This appears to confirm a report from last year about an Anthem 2.0 relaunch. To give the team the opportunity to really focus on the work that needed to be done, Anthem is abandoning its current seasonal model. BioWare still plans to run events, store refresh, and revisit seasonal and Cataclysm content, but don't expect any big new seasonal update like ICETIDE. Apologize if I'm not saying that correctly. While the studio is hunkering down and focusing on a substantial reinvention, although honestly they should have focused on the gameplay in the first place to begin with, not launch it in the crappy condition that it was, which is the whole ship it broken down, patch it later bullshit, which that really needs to stop, honestly. Though Hudson first expressed some pride in the development team and the community, but admits that a lot more that both players and team at BioWare wanted from Anthem. Some of the quote reads, quote, over the last year, the team has worked hard to improve stability, performance, and general quality of life while delivering 3 seasons of new content and feature. We have also heard your feedback that Anthem needed a more satisfying loot experience, better long-term progression, and a more fulfilling end game. So we recognize that there's still more fundamental work that needs to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience, and it will require a more substantial reinnovation than a update or expansion. Over the coming months, we will be focusing on long-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivation, challenge, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast sci-fi fantasy setting. And to do that, that properly will be doing something we should have done more of in the first time around, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focus on gameplay first, which is pretty amazing that they did not do that in the first place, which reinforces why I am against the whole ship it, broke it now, and patch it later kind of attitude. Hudson acknowledged that core problems stemmed from an unsatisfying loop experience that doesn't support long-term progression or Anthem endgame, though he stopped shy of confirming a complete Anthem reboot or relaunch. He does say that it will require a more substantial renovation than an update or expansion to meet the potential that Anthem's gameplay and would have to offer. Meanwhile, this means BioWare will be basically running Anthem in its current state until it's ready to launch the redesign. Existing players can expect to see past seasonal and cataclysm events return, but wire changes and new events like the most recent Ice Tide season are done for the time being. Hudson hints that Anthem's anniversary at the end of February will bring a better idea of how the game will run going forward until such time that Anthem 2.0 is ready. The team at BioWare is committed to a substantial reinvention of Anthem, but what does it look like in practice? Will existing players get the redesigned Anthem as an update for free? Will it release as a whole new game? How will the relaunch play into the release of the next generation consoles this year? There are currently a lot of unknowns. Regarding Anthem's reboot and how EA plans to distribute it. So, first of all, I think while it's great that Casey Hudson is acknowledging this, number one, they should have focused on gameplay in the first place. I mean, for me, I'm a firm believer that it's gameplay over graphics. While graphics isn't unimportant, I think having a solid gameplay is the most important thing out there. And for them to not have focus on gameplay first is completely unbelievable in my view, and I think they really dropped the ball on that. And two, honestly, I think they should have come out and apologized and say, look, we're sorry. We should not have shipped the game in the condition as it is though. Now, could Anthem bounce back? Like I've said this before in the past, probably, and that is there's always a chance. I mean, No Man's Sky bounced back. So did Final Fantasy XIV. So yes, there is always a possibility it could bounce back. That said, given EA's reputation and given the reputation BioWare has got themselves into lately, it's going to be a very tough sell for them to convince players to come back, especially after Anthem has into a complete free fall and all. And I do wonder, is this too little, too late? I mean, did enough damage has been done to Anthem to the point that would it have been better for BioWare to just cut their losses and not even bother with it though? So we'll have to wait and see. Overall, I'm going to say that I wish BioWare best of luck. Hopefully maybe when they finally get this Anthem reboot out, that it can turn things around and give it a good course correction, but I'm still not holding my breath on this one. I think there is a chance that a lot of damage has been done to this that I can't see if Anthem's going to recover. Again, I could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3. And this one has to do with Koei Tecmo and what they might be doing with the PS5, and of course some information, some good news about one of their big PS4 exclusive, Null, and how well that has done. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, and basically both Null, and I believe it's NIOH, I apologize if I'm saying the name incorrectly, and of course what they have in store for the PS5. Now, when it comes to games from Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, I do like some of their games. I'm not a really big fan of every game out there. Like, I don't really play the Dead or Alive games because I'm not really great at fighting games. And there have been cases where they have been criticized mainly with some of the ways they've handled some of their DLCs and all that stuff. That said, there's no doubt that that Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja are known to put out some good quality games, whether it's working with or collaborating with Nintendo, working with them on games like Fire Emblem Warriors or Hyrule Warriors, which I consider it one of the best warrior games out there, or working with them with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, or doing something like working on the PS4 with currently a lot of their games, whether it's the Dead or Alive series or any of the upcoming Fairy Tail game, which is Koei Tecmo, which recently got delayed. But one of the games that has become one of my favorites on the PS4, which is a sequel coming up next month, is Null. This is basically Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja's take on the whole Dark Souls or the Souls-like game. And out of all the Souls-like games I've played out there, Null has been one of my favorite ones out there. For me, it feels like I'm getting like an Onimusha vibe out of it, or felt like it's like a spiritual successor to the Onimusha series. And I'm definitely looking forward to basically the sequel when it comes out next month. In the meantime, there's some interesting news in regards of basically the first Null game and what Koei Tecmo has some ideas of what they would like to do for the PS5. We'll start off with the first article. This one starts off with the first article from GamePressure.com, and it reads that Null, the first one, has sold 3 million copies so far, which is pretty impressive. It reads that, quote, Friday marks the third birthday for the action RPG Null. On this occasion, the developers, the people from Team Ninja, boasted that the game has sold over 3 million copies. This result include the sales in digital distribution and copies sent to shop. In February 2019, the game publisher Koei Tecmo informed about exceeding the 2.5 million threshold. Thus, in a year, the title found an additional 500,000 buyers, though. As a reminder, Null launched on February 7th, 2017, exclusive on the PS4. PC owners had to wait 9 months longer for their version in May 2018. The publisher boasted that the game has moved 2 million copies, so the sales rate have clearly decreased, which is no surprise. But despite this, the title is still winning new players. It reads that the game not only turned out to be a commercial hit, but also met with warm reception. The PlayStation 4 recently boasted an average of 88% on Metacritic. The game's success has led to Team Ninja to start working on the follow-up, simply called Null 2. So far, only the PS4 version has been confirmed, with a release schedule for March 13th of this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a PC version happens. Maybe it will be the same situation as the first one, where it looks like you will have to wait possibly 9 months, though. But we'll see. I mean, after all, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming. I believe that is coming to the Nintendo. I'm sorry, wrong system. My bad. Coming to PC. So we'll have to wait and see about that one. But it is very encouraging to see that the first one is doing very well. I'm glad the game is doing good. And of course, I definitely like it. I think it's one of the best Souls-like games out there, and it's definitely one you should add to your PS4 collection, or if you have it on, or if PC is your main system, get it on PC. Not only is Null and upcoming Null 2, definitely looking forward to those games, but we've also learned that basically the developers of Null 2 want to create a new IP for the PS5. In an article from Gaming Bolt, it reads that, quote, Team Ninja has its hands full currently with Null 2, a brutal difficulty action RPG with new YOKA abilities, weapons, and combat mechanics. And though the game will support post-launch with 3 DLC packs, the developer studio is aspiration to something different in the future. Essentially, it wants to create a new IP for the PS5. Eurogamer Portugal asked the studio head about the console, and the latter response, I believe that a new console will bring a new opportunity, and we would like to create a new game, a new intellectual property IP for the PS5. The studio head said this will mirror the approach taken with Null on the PS4. We created Null series for the PS4, and we would like to do the same for the PS5. Of course, this doesn't mean that the new IP for PS5 is in the work at Team Ninja, simply that the head studio and his team would like to make one in the future. How far off that will remain to be seen. As for Null 2, it's released on March 13th for the PS4. It will feature a new co-op mechanic, including support for up to 3 players, an instant and loot, along with new enemies and bosses. In terms of length, players can expect the same number of main missions as the first game so far. So, honestly, I would love to see what they want to bring to the PS5. I mean, if Null, I definitely enjoyed that game on the PS4, but I'm definitely open to seeing what they could bring to the PS5. Maybe it will be a new action game, maybe it will be an RPG, maybe it will be a shooter. I mean, who knows, but I definitely would love to see what they can have, what kind of IP they could create for the PS5. Although I will admit, to some degree, I am opening for them to maybe tackling like other titles. Like, I know this sounds like a long shot, but I would love for them to maybe make a Rygar game. I mean, we haven't had a Rygar game since 2002. And I think 2007's Rygar on the Wii U, but the original one was released on the PS2, which was sort of an updated version of the original NES game and so forth. So I would love to see maybe them, Team Ninja, tackling that. I would also love to see them bring back the Ninja Gaiden series, and I certainly would be open for a Null 3 if that was to come to the PS5. But I definitely would be open to, I would love to see what that new IP might be when the PS5 comes out, and hopefully we don't have to wait long. So overall, great that Null is doing very well and selling really good. I'm looking forward to the sequel when it comes out March 13th, and I'm very interested to see what new IP that Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo are working on in terms of bringing it over to the PS5. Hopefully it will become as successful as Null was on the PS4. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 4. And this one has to do with Nintendo clamping down on leakers, especially when it came to Pokemon Sword and Shield. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's response to people who leaked out information in regards to Pokemon Sword and Shield before the game officially came out. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, last year Pokemon Sword and Shield came out with some controversy surrounding it, as not everybody was thrilled about the game. Some people didn't like the visuals in any way and thought Game Freak was being too lazy. Others were upset about certain Pokemons not being into the game and the whole Detex controversy and all that stuff, in which I didn't really pay too much attention to it. Despite some of the controversy, though, the game did manage to sell 16 million copies and is still doing very well indeed. So even though the controversy may have hurt the game to some degree, it wasn't enough that the game became a financial or commercial flop or anything like that. Well, recently, Nintendo has been investigating basically those who have leaked information about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and they have recently decided to, well, respond big time. In an article, let me get it out. In an article from the Six Axes, it reads that, quote, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company were stung by strings of leaks that occur in the run-up to the release of Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield last year, helping to rile up the already dissatisfied and vocal side of the Pokemon fan base in the process. After investigating for the last few months, and they make the joke, maybe they should set Detective Pikachu on the case, the company has now pinpointed the leaker and named and shamed them in a joint statement, identified as Portuguese website F Nintendo, which I don't know why they call it that. Nintendo has given them an FU, deciding to cut ties and no longer work with them. According to the statement Nintendo released, it says, quote, in early November, Nintendo identified a number of photographs taken from gameplay that revealed multiple new and unannounced Pokemon from Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. These photographs have been posted online. Nintendo, together with the Pokemon Company, quickly identified the person responsible for these leaks and took immediate action. These Pokemons were leaked by a reviewer for the Portuguese website F Nintendo, who has received an early copy of the game for review purpose. Both he and F Nintendo failed to handle confidential materials, resulting in a clear breach of confidential agreement between Nintendo and the media outlet. As a result, Nintendo will no longer work with F Nintendo. And the article continues, the real significance of the leak is where it came from. F Nintendo has, just like many websites ourselves included, signed an NDA and agreed to embargo in order to receive an early copy of the Nintendo game and review hardware. While it's a key part of game journalists to be able to latch onto leaks, sources, and gain inside knowledge, a line you don't cross is breaking those agreements. For their part, this wasn't a decision made by F Nintendo's team, but rather one reviewer. They've already released a statement stating that it was their reviewer who leaked the information and that F Nintendo has cut ties with that person. However, they acknowledge that this was a breach of their agreement with Nintendo and accept the consequences, apologizing to all parties. According to their statement, they said, quote, from F Nintendo, we want to take this opportunity to openly admit to our readers that F Nintendo was responsible for leaking some of these photos. Nintendo offered us a copy of the game for review purposes with clear embargo guidelines to which we agreed. This copy was sent to one of our reviewers who leaked the information. Following the investigation, F Nintendo served its relationship with this reviewer. Our relationship with Nintendo Portugal dates back 11 years, but our part in this leak is a clear breach of confidential agreement between us and, as a result, a total breach of trust with Nintendo. We recognize it is impermissible to break embargo guidelines, and we failed to handle the review materials with significant care. We fully respect Nintendo's decision to cancel the confidential agreement between our companies as a result of this breach of trust, and we accept that we are no longer receiving products from Nintendo, nor will we be invited to attend their event. We want to apologize to Nintendo and the Pokemon Company and to our readers for letting them down, from the statement from F Nintendo. While something like this happens, it can directly impact Nintendo's faith in those relationships across the board. That's bad for fans wanting on reviews. It's bad for websites working to cover Nintendo games in a timely fashion as possible, and it's incredibly disheartening for anyone that's been working on the game, especially when it feeds the over negative that was already throwing around this game. So, yeah, now I don't know much about what happened here, but if it's true that they did sign an NDA and they breached that contract, though, then yeah, I mean, Nintendo is in the right on this one, though. If you sign something about something and you violated it, though, yeah, they have a right to do that. I mean, it sucks that this happened to them, and I feel sorry to some degree for F Nintendo, but what this person did not only breached the trust of Nintendo, but also breached the trust of this Portuguese website as well. So, honestly, I have to say, I think Nintendo is in the right on this. In the right on this situation. They have a right. Because they breached this contract, they're not going to work with this site anymore. And I think that's the right thing for them to do. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times I don't 100% agree with Nintendo on everything, but excuse me. But in this situation, yeah. So overall, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate what happened to this gaming news site title in Portugal, titled F Nintendo, that had a good relationship for them. But you know what? Because of this NDA being violated, though, I can't blame Nintendo for what they did, and I think they are in the right on this. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with a situation regarding Blizzard and Activision and Nvidia's recently released new cloud streaming service, Geforce Now. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, I want to be talking about the current situation with Activision, Blizzard, and Nvidia's own Geforce Now. Now, recently though, Nvidia had launched their new gaming streaming service, which is called Nvidia Geforce Now. The idea is that you could stream PC games on basically your Android device, PC, Mac, or the Nvidia Shield. Recently, as of right now, it's not available on iPhones or iPads at this time. Hopefully that will change over time, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, I recently downloaded Geforce Now on my iMac, which I'm also recording this video off of as well. And while I'm going to get to a full review and thoughts of it at a certain, hopefully soon though, I will say my experience with it has been pretty positive though. I recently have played Fallout New Vegas on it, and also The Witcher 2, Assassins of the King, if I'm saying the name correctly though, and my experience with it has been mostly positive, and I get what Nvidia is trying to do with Geforce Now. It's not, excuse me, it's not sort of like what Google Stadia is trying to do. It's more like, here's another option, like if you like the idea of gaming on PC, but may have a little, maybe turned off in terms of buying parts and all that stuff, you know, buying the right graphic cards and so on, or if you have like an iMac like I have as well. But recently, Activision Blizzard did something that recently has raised some concerns about the future of game streaming indeed, and many fear that this could add some ramifications. In several articles, though, recently, The Verge recently wrote this, quote, Nvidia's Geforce Now feels like one of the very best ways to get a free taste of cloud gaming, but it's got a gigantical catch. It lets you play PC games you already own only if the game publishers allows it. Today, Nvidia is revealing that Activision Blizzard is no longer playing ball, pulling its categories of games including Overwatch, World of Warcraft, and Call of Duty series. That means one of the server's biggest publishers, as well its Battle.net, which at one point you could use your Battle.net account on Geforce Now, catalog of games will no longer be available just a week after the server's former launch. A launch that was already missing many games from Capcom, EA, Konami, Remedy, Rockstar, and Square Enix, all which to have seen pulled out after Nvidia's beta period ended. Nvidia won't tell us why this is happening, but it's strange because Nvidia previously told us it was contacting every publisher ahead of launch to make sure they were okay staying on. Did Activision Blizzard renegotiate it on a deal, or did Nvidia fail to get permission? We're waiting to hear back from Nvidia. Activision Blizzard didn't respond to a request for comment, and it's frustrating because the whole premiere of Nvidia's Geforce Now service theoretically is a win-win. You get to take your existing game libraries anywhere. Game publishers get the same money and much the same relationship with the customers who buy those games through the same Steam, Epic, Uplay, and Battle.net store. and Nvidia gets to rent out access on a computer that simply lives in the clouds instead of on your desk at home. In a statement, Nvidia said it hopes to work with Activision Blizzard to bring the games back, but the company confirms to us that things are pretty cut and dry for now. You shouldn't expect them to magically reappear after a few days or even a few weeks. Nvidia also declined to tell us whether they'll be open to sharing a slice of its subscription fees with publishers, citing the quiet period before its earning. It's true that Blizzard at least has an EULA that specifically prevent users from playing a game on cloud gaming service, but that doesn't seem to explain this move. Activision's EULA doesn't contain anything of that sort, and again, Activision Blizzard didn't seem to have any problem with it during Geforce Now beta. Regardless of the reason, it's worried for those who are excited by cloud gaming potential to see a service like this hobble because one party or the other didn't want to work out a deal. It makes me wonder we should expect nasty carnage negotiation to play out regularly in gaming like this already do in the pay TV world, holding our favorite programs hostage until one party or the other provides a slightly bigger piece of the action. We recently saw streaming setup boxes like Roku aren't immune to those anonymous. Now that the present has been set, why should games be any different? And in an article from Polygon, they mentioned the same thing. They recently updated the article with a statement which it says an Nvidia spokesman told Polygon on Wednesday that the company doesn't have any further details to offer beyond the information in the forum post. The representatives say they couldn't comment about the nature of Nvidia's arrangement with Activision or why the company hasn't gone their separate ways at this particular junction, though. So I have to say, it is somewhat concerning what Activision Blizzard or what Nvidia has done. I don't know what the issue. I don't know whether there was bad blood or not. But there's also claims that they signed a deal with Google Stadia, and there's the whole allegation of basically Activision Blizzard wants all the money, not some of the money, and so forth. But it is very concerning about this, though. And while I'm not completely losing sleep over it, since I don't really play a whole lot of Activision Blizzard's game, it is a very concerning situation and could turn some people off to the idea of game streaming or cloud game streaming. Now, I do think cloud game streaming does have potential, and I do think it could have a part in the whole gaming cycle as well. And I like what Nvidia is doing with the whole Geforce Now. The fact that I could play some of these PC games off of my iMac and all is a really neat idea. But when we have the issues like what Activision Blizzard's done, it does raise the whole question of the ownership issue, and that is a very concerning situation. I'm hoping this can iron out. I'm hoping publishers don't get too greedy and embrace this idea of, or at least embrace what Nvidia is trying to do and all that stuff. But right now, I will say it's a very concerning situation. I'm hoping things can be ironed out right now, but it's troublesome. So overall, I hope this doesn't become a trend or anything like that, but I can see why some people are worried about what is going on between Nvidia and Activision Blizzard. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 6, and this one has to do with January's NPD. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our sixth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at January's NPD. So the first NPD has come out for January of 2020 though, and while usually January and February are somewhat kind of slow, so we don't have a whole lot of big AAA titles or anything like that, or any real major titles and all that stuff, it is still nice to see what exactly did well. And apparently it seems if you are a fan of the Dragon Ball Z series, I'm not really a big fan of it, but there are those who out there who are. Apparently you'll be happy to know that I think Dragon Ball Kakarot, if I'm saying the name correctly, actually did very well. Not only was it like the best-selling game, I think, for January, but also the best-selling game on the Xbox One and the PS4. In two of the articles from Venture Beat, in terms of hardware though, it says that the Nintendo Switch continues to top hardware sales in January. It reads that, quote, Nintendo Switch hardware sales once again came out on top for the month. No need to act surprised. For industry tracking firm the NPD Group, January's tracking period, Switch outsold the PS4 and Xbox One. Though Sony and Microsoft devices are at the end of their life, both companies are planning for the next-gen replacement for this holiday, though, which I think it's going to be really interesting to see how well the Switch stacks up once the PS5 and Xbox Series X comes out, at least from my view, that is. And it was the best-selling hardware in both units and dollar sales. But even as the Switch once again comes out on top, its sales decline year over year. That contributed to another significant slump for the total console sales. Hardware spending in January 2020 declined 35% when compared to a year ago to $129 million, according to the NPD. All in-market performance decline when compared to a year ago. No one was expecting growth of the PS4 or Xbox One. Switch, however, has seen constant year-over-year jump, but the decline is most likely due to a huge influx of players coming in throughout January 2019 to pick up systems for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. January 2020 didn't have any major new Switch releases, let alone something on the scale of Smash. They also point out that basically that accessories and game cards also continue to decline, though. It says the NPC's accessories and game card category was a constant bright spot for the US gaming spending in 2018 and much of 2019, but fans are spending less on new gamepads, headsets, and current cards as games like Fortnite wane from their astounding peak. This market segment is trending down at a steady pace. Total January 2020 spending on accessories and game cards reached $238 million. That's 11% lower when compared to a year ago. But when people do show up to buy an accessories, it's Microsoft's Xbox Elite Series 2 that has captured the most dollars. So looks like Microsoft should be happy that their Xbox Elite Series 2 controller seems to be doing very well indeed. And obviously Nintendo must be happy that the Switch is still doing very well, and that certainly is good. How it will stack against the PS4 and Xbox One Series X, like I said earlier, when it comes out, it's going to be very interesting to see where it stands at that point, though. So, but it also points out that Switch sales were down in January, but it still outsold its competitors, which I kind of agree with what the article is saying. With the PS5 and Xbox Series X on its way, though, it's clear that it's only a matter of time with it out of its way, they're waiting for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. As far as in terms of the best-selling games, of basically the top best-selling games for the month of January, well, like I said earlier, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you must be very pleased because Dragon Ball Z Kakarot made it as the #1 best-selling game of January 2020, so obviously Bandai Namco must be happy about that. Rounding out the top 20 list, though, Nintendo has to be happy as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 7, Mario Kart 8 at number 8, that's interesting though, Ring Fit Adventure at number 9. That's pretty amazing that for a fitness game, though, in general, that one's doing very well. Pokemon Sword at number 12. Luigi's Mansion 3 at number 13. Breath of the Wild, a game from 2017, is at number 15. And Pokemon Shield at number 20, though. Also, Jedi Fallen Order is at number 4. Grand Theft Auto 5 is still on there, and interesting enough, it they said, quote, GTA 5 is a phenomenal hit. It will likely continue charting along after human society has faded from the earth. That's very interesting, though. And I'm still surprised Ring Fit Adventure is doing very well. That's kind of interesting. As far as the top 10 games over the last 12 months, basically, Nintendo had 2 that made it onto the list, which is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 8 and Mario Kart 8 at number 10. Otherwise, the majority of them are first-party games with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, NBA 2K20, Madden NFL 20, Borderlands 3, Mortal Kombat 11, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Tom Clancy The Division 2, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Excuse me. In terms of the top Xbox One games in January 2020, apparently there were no first-party titles on there whatsoever, but Dragon Ball Z Kakarot made it at the number 1 spot, with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 at number 2, Madden NFL 20 at number 3, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at number 4, NBA 2K20 at number 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 6, Star Wars Battlefront 2 at 2017 at number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 8, Need for Speed Heat at number 9, and FIFA 20 at number 10. In terms of basically the top 10 PS4 games in 2020, again, like the Xbox, no first-party games on there, so basically it's all third parties, with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot at number 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 at number 2, Madden NFL 20 at number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 4, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at number 5, NBA 2K20 at number 6, Need for Speed Heat at number 7, Minecraft at number 8, FIFA 20 at number 9, and Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 10. In terms of the Nintendo Switch in January 2020, apparently only one third-party game has made it onto this list, with Just Dance 2020 at number 10. Otherwise, the rest of the list is basically first-party games from Nintendo, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 1, Mario Kart 8 at number 2, Ring Fit Adventure at number 3, Pokemon Sword at number 4, Luigi's Mansion 3 at number 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 6, Pokemon Shield at number 7, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at number 8, and Super Mario Party at number 9. So, the takeaway from January's NPD for 2020 is obviously Bandai Namco must be really happy that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot did very well for them in January. I'm sure they're really pleased with this, though. Grand Theft Auto 5 continues to be on that list, though, along with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's nice to see Luigi's Mansion 3 on this list. It's great that game is doing very well. Pokemon Sword and Shield, despite some of the controversy, is still doing very well indeed. Mortal Kombat 11 obviously is doing well. And surprise for me to see Ring Fit Adventure up there, supposedly a exercise style game that plays that's like a regular game so far. It's not like an exercise approach like fitness boxing or Wii Fit was. It's kind of surprising to see it on the NPD charts, though. It's obviously a hit with a lot of fans and all. And it will be interesting to see if Nintendo decides to do, say, a Ring Fit Adventure 2, or do something with the ring accessories and all going forward. It seems to me this one seems to be faring better than, say, what Labo was in a way, although it's possible Nintendo was happy with Labo and it did well and so forth. But in either case, Ring Fit Adventure did very well for them. So overall, obviously, like I said, Bandai Namco must be happy with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot doing very well, and obviously Nintendo must be pleased to see that Ring Fit Adventure is certainly on the list for January's 2020 NPD as one of their best-selling games in January. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this survey that Aultus did in terms of games what games would you like to see come to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think this is a sign that Aultus is going to take the Switch seriously? Do you think they're going to bring these games to the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think it's highly unlikely they're going to do anything in regards to the Nintendo Switch outside of that Shin Megami 5, which hopefully we'll hear some of that if that's the right number, which hopefully we'll hear some news on that soon. What are your thoughts about what BioWare is doing with Anthem? Do you still have hope that BioWare can turn Anthem around, or course correct it, and do you think this reboot will work, or do you have lost any hope that Anthem will recover or anything like that? What are your thoughts about in terms of Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo with No doing very well? Are you happy with that game doing very well? Are you looking forward to the sequel, No 2? And are you pleased to hear that at least Team Ninja is looking into bringing a new IP to the PS5? And what kind of new IP would you like them to do, or what kind of genre would you like Team Ninja to do in terms of this new IP for the PS5? What are your thoughts about Nintendo punishing this news site over the leak of Pokemon Sword and Shield? Do you think Nintendo is in the right? Do you think they were right to punish the Portuguese site F Nintendo for violating the NDA, or do you think maybe they were a bit too harsh and went a little bit overboard? What are your thoughts about the situation with Activision, Blizzard, and Nvidia's Geforce Now? Are you worried that this could be a ramification for cloud gaming in general, though? Do you think this will hurt Nvidia anyway? Do you don't think this will hurt them at all? Do you think this will have an impact on cloud gaming or Nvidia Geforce Now? Have you tried it, and do you like Nvidia's Geforce Now? And what are your thoughts about January's NPD for 2020, though? Were you surprised by what NPD put out, though? Are you not surprised? Were these what were you expecting? Were there games you're happy that did well? Were there games that you wish that were on that list? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. That would be great. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!